Yo, what up, guys? So I want to really hammer this home because I was looking through my DMs and I got a question in there that kind of hit home personally. And obviously, if you're an athlete of any caliber, it will hit home as well. And I'm sure this person isn't the only one that struggles with this, but reached out and said, you know, big advocate for a lot of things that I talk about. Same with you know, a lot of things Dr. Heenan talks about. He's working in the weight room, maxed out his deadlift and squat this week. And then he decided to go gun his bullpen, and unfortunately he topped out at 77, which he has obviously aspirations to get to that 90-mile-an-hour goal, and he wanted to know if I've ever been through anything like this. And the reason why I wanted to do a video on this is because the answer simply is yes. And I think a lot of guys go through this where, you know, we basically put in the work and we work our tail off and we make the sacrifice of controlling all of the kind of variables that we can control, and then we don't see the progress, or we don't see the gains, or we have, you know, a bad bullpen, and it, you know, it's super devastating because on one side you have the typical kind of motivational sayings that I could come up here and talk about as far as you know, control the controllables and you know, keep pushing on and rah rah and all this stuff. But in reality, dude, it's, you know, we're human beings, and anytime we're wired to, when we put in the work, that we're expected to see results. And anytime that we're shooting for like a velocity goal, that is not usually the case. I'm sure I'm talking to a lot of people that are going through this as well. So I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things that I've been through personally, and hopefully through that can give you guys watching this more comfort, motivation, whatever it is. But basically, to start off, this is why I am such an advocate for establishing a love for like the process, right? I'm not going to try to be too cliche or corny with like the way that I kind of approach this talk, but it's true in the sense of you got to like thoroughly love everything that goes into it. I made a post a few weeks ago about how, like, you know, love the early wake up calls, love the gym sessions, love the early work, love the frickin', you know, ice bath, like all of those things that go into the process, man. You got to genuinely love because of moments like this, right? If we have a weak foundation for essentially why we play the game or why we train or why we do anything, if it's weak, then these are those moments that are gonna push you, you know, over the edge and make you not want to do it anymore, right? So that's why I'm such an advocate for like establishing a passion. Anything that you do in life and whatever it is like you have to be passionate about it. We can talk all the live long day about, you know, motivation and what is motivation and why are you motivated now but not, you know, two months ago or whatever it is. And that's why I say like motivation is temporary. You got to be passionate. You got to have a passion for what you're doing, because once you have that, you have a solid foundation. And then, you know, you're putting in all this work and you go out and you gun a bullpen day and it's not where you want it. You could have that mentality of like, well, whatever, dude, like, let's go back. How'd I do this week? Did I control X, Y, and Z? Did I put in the work in the weight room? Did I get enough sleep? Did I eat the right amount of calories in it? And if it's yes, dude, like, you can live with yourself and then kind of push you back into, or push you forward into that next week. Again, kind of going back to like my personal deal with this, there's been multiple times in my career, and again, I've always prided myself on my ability to put in the work, always work hard, be the hardest worker in the room, you know, control the things that you can control. I've always prided myself on that, and I've not always seen progress, right? Like there was this particular moment in my life I talk a lot about in 2017. It was about 2 months before I was going off to play winter ball. And, you know, I was working my tail off. I was freaking training. I was eating like super good. Like everything was on point, dude. I was freaking more addicted to the process than I am actually now. And every time I'd go out and radar, like it wasn't there. every time I'd go out and long toss, like it was there, but I couldn't translate it. And it was that constant like grind to figure out why this is happening, why I'm not seeing it, blah, blah, blah. And me, like, and again, I don't mean to toot my own horn or brag or anything like that, but it was my foundation of loving the work, loving the process, loving the grind, and you know, wanting to go forth and wanting to accept the challenge and keep pushing and chugging along. And you know, just kind of started just checking the box. Okay, all I can do is control my work, make sure I'm going about the right way, so on and so forth. And I did. And you know, I wasn't seeing the velocity over time, like a month. It wasn't until I actually got to winter ball that I finally like got out there and threw, and my velocity was higher than it ever really was. And it was like, oh man, like, you know, it's crazy. So, you know, to round it out is like, I know it could be super discouraging. I would encourage anyone that struggles with this is like to make sure that you're passionate about it, man. Make sure that you love it. Make sure you love the process, because that's the one thing that you can control. And it's the grind, right? Like, I know how hard it is and I know how frustrating it is, but if you truly love it, you know, then you're gonna want to do it day in and day out. And you know, I promise you, good things will happen. If it's not, you know, if you're working towards velocity and you set forth on goals like in the baseball world, and you show these characteristic traits, you know, you're better equipped to tackle real life scenarios as well, right? So I know there's not an answer to this. There's never really an answer, but just know that velocity development especially is not a linear progress, right? We're not guaranteed 95 if we do X, Y, and Z. You got to constantly be learning, and not just learning like overall, but learning about yourself and understanding what certain protocols are going to best equip you to reach those goals. And but yeah, I know it's frustrating, guys. I would just encourage you to keep chugging along, keep checking the boxes, fall in love with the process, be passionate about the game. Kind of goes the same thing with like failure too, right? You go out and you fail. Like if you're not passionate about the game, then you're gonna fizzle out. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope that helps, but I've been there. I think I speak for a lot of people who have been there, and you just keep chugging. Much love, guys.